BlackBerry.com.
Hey everybody, Kevin here for BlackBerry.com, and this is the BlackBerry Q10. It is finally here, the long-awaited, much-anticipated BlackBerry 10 phone with a full physical keyboard. It's really hot. We're going to dive into it in the next few minutes here, take a walk around the hardware, look at the software, see how it stacks up to the old Bold 9900, and of course the BlackBerry Z10, which is already on the market. So you can choose which BlackBerry 10 phone is for you. Full touch, full keyboard. Let's get into it. This is the BlackBerry Q10. It comes in both black and white varieties. This is obviously the black model here. Taking a quick glance at it, you can see with the overall design, BlackBerry kept it very much in line with the BlackBerry Bold 9900, more so than, let's say, the Z10. So when you look at these being the pair of the first two BlackBerry 10 phones, I wouldn't say they're an odd couple, but there's definitely a little bit more, consistency between this design. If you didn't know better, you might even think that this phone is the newer phone, when in fact this came out in 2011, while this is your latest and greatest 2013 phone. The quick way to recognize a Q10 is at the front of the device. On the BlackBerry 7 OS, you had this row of buttons in the middle, which were used for navigation on the phone, your menu key, your back button, and of course your trackpad. With BlackBerry 10, that's all gone. You have a touchscreen and you have a keyboard, and that is going to take long-time users a little bit of getting used to. So far, so good, though. It's a pretty easy transition. A few days with it, and you'll forget all about that trackpad and everything else. Looking at the specs of the phone and running around it, so big thing. Touchscreen on this is much bigger compared to the old 9900 series. You now have a 3.1-inch Super AMOLED display, 720 by 720 pixels. It's really nice and big, and BlackBerry's done some smart things to maximize the screen real estate. So for example, if you go into your email inbox here and you start to scroll down, they automatically hide that toolbar at the bottom, your nav bar. It just goes away. Really clever. So wherever you are on the phone, they're really trying to expand the size of the screen. The Super AMOLED display, really vibrant, very bright. The colors are a little bit different. The whites aren't quite as white as compared to the LCD on the Z10. But overall, looking really good. I really enjoyed the display on it. Now, of course, you're buying this phone because you want the keyboard. And this is another area where there's a bit of a design departure from the 9900. In the past flagship BlackBerries, we've gotten used to this kind of smiling keyboard design where the keys are actually curved. But the the Q10 actually has a straight set of keys. It's not the first time we've seen this on a BlackBerry. They actually did this on the Porsche design P9981. But that one wasn't quite as good to type on because the keys were really flat. But this keyboard so far, it's really nice. So you have the traditional frets on the device, separating the rows on the keyboard. And you have these nice big buttons. Each button's actually the same size, whereas on the 9900, these buttons have a little bit of variation to them. And overall, this keyboard is slightly wider, so it's a bit roomier as you get to actually typing on the phone. Overall, really good keyboard, really good display. Another thing on the front of the phone while we're looking at it, that's a first for this form factor of BlackBerry, is your camera. So you do have a 2-megapixel front-facing camera, 720p recording. On the back, you have 8 megapixels, full 1080p recording. Around the phone, it is a metal band. So on the Z10, this is actually a composite they've been using, which at first I thought was metal, then realized no, it's not. It's a composite reinforced with metal on the inside. But the Q10 is just really tight. It's a full blacked out band here. Buttons are very clean. So on the left side, you have your micro HDMI port for hooking up for gaming. You have your micro USB for charging. It's in a nice location at the top. One of our minor complaints on the Z10 was that they put it lower down the phone, which meant if you're ever charging, the cable gets in your way as you try to type. So with the Q10, it's up here, it's out of the way. So if your battery ever dies, you're at home in bed, with it charging, you want to use it, it's not in the way. There are no convenience keys, which we saw this trend emerging before on the latest BlackBerry 7 devices, getting rid of, where we used to have one on each side. Now it's clean. Everything's done with software now when it comes to programmable shortcuts. Along the right side of the device, you have your volume up-down key. You have your mute key in the middle, which also acts as your voice command launcher. At the top of the phone, you have your power button, on and off, and you have your 3.5mm headset jack. Under the hood, well, before we look at what's under the hood, let's talk about this battery door, which is really hot. I know it's something the BlackBerry guys like a lot. They sort of invented a new material that they call it's a glass weave composite, which allows for the NFC antenna to work really well through it, allows for radio signal to transfer out really well. Still looks hot and feels amazing. It has this, I want to say it's a soft touch kind of rubber feel, but it's almost like a waxy feel to it that just gives you the right amount of grip. Really enjoyable to hold in the hand. With the white model, it's not going to be quite the same material. It'll be a slightly harder plastic as we're used to seeing. Just because if they make it out of anything else, it's going to get covered in blue jean dye when you carry it around in your pockets. But the white model feels really good when we played with it as well. Horsepower, I mean, it's the same as the Z10 through and through. So you have your 1.5 gigahertz dual-core processor. Everything else is there, your NFC, your Bluetooth 4.0. Of course, you have GPS and all your Wi-Fis and everything else. 4G LTE, so this is an amazingly fast BlackBerry. It's just, I can't even really begin to explain. For anybody who's been using the older BlackBerries forever and you try to download big attachments and that kind of thing, I've been downloading 100 megabyte movies onto this in literally seconds. And it's almost weird to realize you have a BlackBerry in your hand now that can just do so much that before you used to sort of avoid doing. Let's dive into the software now. So BlackBerry 10, gotta love it. You want to power this thing on, you have a couple options. You can always use the power button, which is good. But the fun way, of course, is to just swipe up on the display. If you're not familiar with BlackBerry 10, let's give you just a quick walkthrough. So this is your familiar section, of course, similar to your old BlackBerries, where you're going to have just lots and lots of icons that launch apps. On BlackBerry 10, you can think of the home screen as sort of a long rectangle. On the right side, you have all your icons, which you can create folders and everything for easily. And then once you open an application, it launches. To get back to the home screen, there's no home button. You actually just swipe up, and your app is minimized. And this becomes your row of basically your screen of what they call active frames. But these are all running applications that are running minimized. And when they are minimized, developers can actually program in an alternate view. So for example, if we open the something like the weather app, and you can see the temperature right now, it's big. When you minimize it, after 2 seconds, it's going to flip, and now you get this optimized view. Or here's the BlackBerry 10 app, for example, which again, once you're in it, you're in the app. When you go to the home screen, you wait 2 seconds. We start showing you a rotation of story by story. The big thing is, once you're to the left of your active frames, you go into the amazing BlackBerry Hub. And the Hub is essentially a unified inbox on steroids, which brings together all of your communication. And, BlackBerry's always had sort of this unified inbox, but on BlackBerry 10, it's just done better and bigger, and more things can tap into it, and we'll be able to tap into it over time. So when you're in the main hub, as you scroll down, you're going to see emails, text messages, BBMs, all be brought in together. But then as you swipe to the far left, you can separate it out. So I can go just into my individual Gmail accounts or my Facebook, whatever I want to do. And the best part about the hub is it's accessible anywhere. So if you are in the BlackBerry app, for example, and you see that red light go off, you don't have to quit what you're doing to see what's coming in. You can swipe up, you start to hook to the right, and you'll see your latest messages. So in this case, I left the hub on Facebook. That's where I was at. But let's say I was, in the weather app now. The red light goes off. I know I have a message. I can swipe in. I have a little preview of what my message counts are. But as I come in, I can see it. And if I don't want to jump into the hub, I don't have to. I can just go back to what I was doing, no problem. Performance of the phone is really fast. You'll see it's just a really smooth device. You can jump around on the home screen too, just like that. And that's your home screen experience. Now, gestures are used in a lot of ways on BB10. So for example, you swipe down from the top, you can pull in your shortcuts for turning on Wi-Fi, things like that. If you want to silence the phone, you can do it there. You jump into your settings, you have that BlackBerry familiarity with a system screen. Everything's really cleanly done on BlackBerry 10. You can figure it out just in a day of using the phone, where everything's located. So there's a lot of familiarity for old BlackBerry users, even though it is a totally new experience. And one of the things that's happened on the Q10, which is different than the Z10, is the use of a dark theme. So with the AMOLED display, basically black colors, like generating the color black, actually uses less energy than creating whites. So what BlackBerry's done is actually changed up the OS on a lot of the apps to make use of a darker theme. So here we're going through contacts, you can see a black background. If I go into something like the calendar, it's also black. In general, I just think it looks hot. You know, it's a nice update to the BlackBerry we've been used to, but it actually is good for battery life. Now, when it comes to the hub and email, BlackBerry made the conscious decision to leave it white just because it's something that it's a standard, whether it's Outlook or Gmail or anything else. You know, you're used to reading your long emails all day long with a white background. So they didn't change that. And for developers, they're encouraging the use of a black theme. So for example, in our Crackberry app, you know, that's exactly what we're doing, is creating this black theme for people to use, which is fun. You know, you compare it to the same app in white, and it's just a cool look to see the difference. I don't know. I kind of am enjoying it right now. Other things in BlackBerry 10.1. So you have your physical keyboard. Yes, there are still keyboard shortcuts, but they're a little bit different than what you're used to. So, you know, BlackBerry's really starting from a fresh start here, and they're, you know, I think they're going to add even more to it over time, but they've started with some really good basics. So one thing that has been a bit of a complaint on the Z10 is it takes a little long to, you know, plow through your email. But now that you have a keyboard here, you can take advantage. So, you know, even scrolling through emails, you can use the space bar. If you want to jump to the top, you can hit the T key, hit the B key, go to the bottom. Once you're in an email, you can go to the next email using the N key, or a previous email using the P key. You know, keys like delete do work to delete a message, just like that. On the home screen, they've also started something called instant action. So you do have your universal search if you start to type, but you can actually type things like, you know, BBM and put in a person's name, like, you know, I got Adam on, or my friend Christiana on here, and then tap it, and it opens the BBM app right up to her into the app. So it's basically like shortcuts that go levels deep into application. So we looked at the home screen experience on BB10. We took a quick look at some of the shortcuts happening here with the Q10 that are Q10 specific, the dark theme. You know, the last thing I want to highlight is just how good the app experience is now on BlackBerry. You know, we have things like Skype coming to BlackBerry, which is awesome. We have things like Instagram, which, you know, aren't officially there yet, but follow Crackberry. You know, just search, download Instagram for your BlackBerry Q10, and, you know, we'll hook you up with it. Just in general, things are good. You know, BlackBerry World has lots of apps, lots of games. You can now download movies and music right from it, you know, tied to your BlackBerry ID, you know, credit card, PayPal. You can do even carrier billing to pay for everything. You know, the native apps are great. You have great things like photo editing built into the phone itself. So here's some nice shots of, you know, Times Square. You can just open that photo up, launch the editor, and you have some cool effects you can, you know, start to put in. A lot of things are just built into BlackBerry 10 that weren't there before. But the biggest thing is just how smooth BlackBerry 10 runs. It doesn't matter what you're doing, if you're multitasking, jumping between apps, doing heavy applications, everything just works. And of course, this phone is really about one thing, and that is the physical keyboard. I mean, you're buying a phone in 2013 that has a physical keyboard because you want it. You're going to be typing a lot, and that's exactly what you're going to do with this, is type. And then if you don't want to type, especially BBM, you can always just call people. Let's see how this works. We'll see if Adam's up. If he says bye, we'll call it a wrap. This is BBM video chat. There's also BBM screen share. That's Marty on the camera. Connecting. Hey Adam, what's going on? So I'm recording like the BlackBerry Q10 in 10 minutes video, which is now like 30 minutes because I haven't really had much time to prep with it, you know, at all. But I figured this would be the final end. You could say, just shut up, Kevin, you talk too much. Buy the phone because you love it.
I'm pretty sure everybody knows you talk too much, and if they know that, they also know that they should buy
Okay, so then that's it. So this review is over. Just visit crackberry.com/Q10 for everything you want to know on the Q10, both concise and long-winded. But seriously, great looking phone. It's the BlackBerry that so many of us have been waiting for so long, and it really rocks. So just go pick it up. Adam, Kevin, out. All right, this video is over.